My name is Colin White. I come from a loving family. My dad's always been my hero. My mother um, didn't know how to be a mom, but she was, looking back now, I know she did her best. We were very family oriented. I can remember my grandparents always coming often to Montreal to help look after me or just to visit. Eventually they split. My mother didn't want to stay in Canada. And I remember that. I remember where it first sort of started with some arguments and stuff. I was only 3 years old. I always remember being sat down and talked to about, no, mommy and daddy love you very much. This is just, we're having our own things going on. It's got nothing to do with you. I was a very emotional kid, which eventually became like angry outbursts as I got a little older. I couldn't pay attention. I couldn't pay attention in school. I got caught smoking at like 6 years old. These behaviors started sprouting. All I wanted to do was kind of be accepted by everyone. And it became less important that I was accepted at home and more important that I was accepted everywhere else. Eventually, my dad decided it was time to go to Ottawa. I moved with him to Ottawa, and I would go see my mother on weekends in Montreal, being a complete terror at my mother's place. Well, she had boyfriends and living in apartments in poor neighborhoods, and I started to feel like my father cared more about me. He was becoming an enabler to these behaviors. He was coddling me when things weren't going well. If I got caught doing something wrong, my father would run to me and ask, what happened, and I would make up some story, and I'm a victim. And I started living two lives. When I was in Montreal, I was stealing money from my mother's boyfriend, hundreds of dollars, watching him abuse my mother physically. Eventually, he turned his eyes on me and, pushed me around a few times. So I'd go back with some bruises and some scratches, and I would say the neighborhood kids. The goals were still the same. My mother was trying harder than ever to try to show interest. She's suffering from a lot of undiagnosed mental health issues, where her brain wasn't getting the vitamins in her food because she wasn't feeding herself. So she became abusive as well. Moved to Ottawa when I was 9 or 10 or grade 5, and I thought this was going to be the solution to everything. I'm going to spend as much time as I can away from my mother. I'm going to get all new friends. None of them know that I was hurt in Montreal and that I felt betrayed. Move on from it. At the age of 10, I made a great decision, I thought. Cigarettes were something that were not allowed. I liked that. I liked breaking the rules. It was always a behavior thing for me, looking back. I tried hashish. I would steal my dad's Guinness. It tasted disgusting, but I loved the effect. It gave me courage. It gave me what I thought was strength. What it really did was lower all inhibitions to do anything else, like throw a rock through a convenience store window and steal cartons of cigarettes. The consequences from drinking were devastating at an early age. I was already put in like a young offender jail. They got bigger and bigger, these consequences, and I had become like a kleptomaniac. Nothing was really safe. The substances led into like behaviors. When I was without those substances, I wasn't able to associate or talk to anybody. 15 or 16, I was shipped off to my first treatment center. I had some heavy charges of assault. I told the judge that I had a problem with alcohol because I had heard that if I said that, I would get some kind of lenience. And they shipped me off to Minnesota. And that's where I was exposed to not substances, but the idea of them and how would someone make something like this? How would someone get this? How much could it cost? My roommate in treatment was a real gangster, a shotgun crip. I'd never seen any of this stuff, not even in the movies. So I thought it was really cool. I never liked my life. So it was so much easier to assimilate other people's. My behavior in treatment was better. I was treated with kindness and love, and I was introduced to a 12-step program. I got that big buck we all talk about. I got that at like 16 years old. When I think about it, that's the first seed that was planted. Everybody has all these great memories of going to summer camp. I always went to treatment centers. I had my first kiss in rehab, my first girlfriend in treatment, Clearly I was in charge, that's what I thought. I always told myself I was a late bloomer. I drank, and I worked in the entertainment business as like a nightclub DJ. Then someone came in the booth and he offered me cocaine. I remember snorting that right off the turntable, and everything changed. It's like I crossed some threshold, some secret level in some video game. I can do anything I want, and there are no consequences. And if there are, I don't care. I don't feel them. All sorts of substances from mushrooms, cocaine. I tried Percocet. When I mixed alcohol and Percocet, I had a really euphoric effect. I was really good at entertaining people at the time. This is all coming through my eyes. I had this sort of feeling of control, not just myself, but everybody around me, in all the substances I could want. But it took things like time from me and memories and relationships, and this is just the early stuff. I had forgotten that I was a little troubled kid because now I had what I thought I needed. I think it was age 20, 21. The day after my birthday, I woke up, bleeding nose all over my pillow, this pain in my stomach, and it was, like I swallowed razor blades. I don't know, it was really painful. I went to the bathroom and I was in there for 18 hours. I lost about 15 pounds. The ambulance came to get me, and I was diagnosed a couple weeks later with Crohn's disease. Wow, I can remember it clear as day. The doctor sat me down and said, "You're gonna have to accept you're gonna be on some form of an opiate for the rest of your life." And I can remember in my head going, "Okay, I'm accepting it. Like, you're gonna give me prescriptions for this stuff." And he's like, "Absolutely. Control the pain and not let the pain control you." And I thought, this is what I want to do my whole life. I want to control all the pain. It started off with Percocets. By the end of the year, it was scripts for 80s, and I was taking 5 to 10 a day. It wasn't that long until I wanted to find a faster way to feel it. If I could figure out how to shoot it, I get all my investment right away. That's how I justified it. And while this is happening, I'm not eating much. Relationships are ending and beginning all the time. I couldn't use the way I wanted to at work. So I got fired from certain places and rumors started to go. And so I came up with a great idea. I moved back to Montreal, a new doctor, painkillers, and I'll drive back and forth from Ottawa and double up my load of painkillers. And then I had a few surgeries. They were happening every year now, the surgeries. I had great justification, rationalization to get what I needed to feel good, but it wasn't lasting very long. And I'd get higher up in my career. Like, I was working for higher paying gigs where I only had to work 45 minutes a night. It would come in faster and it would leave even faster. My girlfriend at the time had just had enough. She'd found needles in my suit jacket pocket. So I just remember not taking part in my life at all, just being there but not doing anything except getting high. It gets worse from there. I never understood progression. Throughout all this time, I've gone to treatment again many times. But about 6 months from that time in Montreal, I think it was about 2006 or 7, 8, I had my first overdose injecting cocaine. And I felt my whole body start shaking from my feet all the way up. And then my voice started trembling. I opened up the back door, went out the fire escape. I had a heart attack in the parking lot naked. And my father was driving around and found me. And I woke up in a hospital. And he gave me another pamphlet for a treatment center and said if I didn't go, he would not have a son anymore. So I went to treatment again. Graduated from treatment. I did a couple years of aftercare and thought life was good. Sober for the first time for a longer period. Got into the music business, became a producer, and just started writing my own music. Again, money came in fast. And I'm still going to meetings and did some step work, not much. Maybe what I should do is go back to Ottawa again. So I made another geographical change, tried to reconnect with my father. And I didn't know that my father had trouble sleeping because he didn't know where I was. And I'm not talking to my mother at all at this point. I've been sober for a while now. I sort of trusted myself, but I had I didn't do any work on this stuff. And I needed a new career. I needed something that worked. So I thought I'll move to Toronto. 2018, I suffered a complete mental break. I woke up in the hospital, the benzos again. I was into anti-anxiety meds. I thought it kept me level so that the rest of the world would see this stable, responsible person. From the hospital, when I was released, within weeks, I lost the place I lived. I was introduced in 2018 to crack cocaine. It took everything I had, and I couldn't find a doctor that would help me with my Crohn's. And drug dealers can be very effective, This one guy gave me fentanyl. I smoked it, and I was gone. Sleeping under a staircase in a parking garage. Choose between food, cigarettes, or dope. Screaming out for help, man, in my head. I couldn't see a way out. So in 2018, October, I walked into a convenience store and I demanded the money. I walked out the store and I was immediately stopped. I dropped the cash, I had the change, and I bolted, but I was arrested 392 days. So I got out, I walked the streets. No one would talk to me. I wasn't even human. I could ask for the time and people would recoil from me. I would beg for water. I was injured all the time. I can remember getting thrown off this rooftop where I was sleeping because someone wanted to make a deal on the rooftop. And I got up and I remember asking, well, can you guys throw me down some dope for this at least? I'm now begging for drugs. I kept walking and walking, and I had heard about this place called CAMH. And apparently if you go there, of course, this is the rumor, they'll get you housing. And I thought, great, this is a great way for me to get more money for drugs and maybe get healthy so I can start again. I walked into the CAMH and begged them just to take me in. By the time I had gotten there, I had lost my will to live. I didn't even want help, I just wanted to die. They put me in a really small room, and I can remember seeing this mirror like right to my right. And I looked at myself and my skin was covered in gashes and bumps, like from my neck all the way down, pieces of my teeth missing, and I was 104 pounds. And one of the nurses just looked at me, just staring at from the door, and it was just like tears in her eyes kind of thing. And I said, can I get a sandwich? And she came back with like 10 sandwiches and all this yogurt, and I ate so much. But what I really wanted was some drugs to make me feel better, and they wouldn't go for it. They made me sit there until my skin was about to crack. 18 hours in that room. Someone had approved me for detox. And 7 days went by. I found out that I had like something called MRSA. I had cellulitis, gash in my leg. So they fixed all these things over time, and then they gave me a bunch of pamphlets and said, you have to call a treatment center because you can't stay here. I called all the places, and they were long interviews. Within a couple weeks, I got a date of when I was going, and I spent the next 2 months at CAMH. Got a mental health diagnosis while I was there, and I got meds for this. Things started to make sense. It was like a light switch that just went on. All of a sudden, I was aware of what's going on and what I'm doing to myself, but I still didn't know how to stop, and I wanted to stop now. I want to stay stopped. That was my mission. So I went to treatment, went through a 28-day program. The first day I was there, they gave me an application for Alpha House and explained that this is where you go after treatment. And as I worked through treatment, every Monday I would call to show my interest and hopefully move up on the waiting list. I think September 2nd or 1st, I came through the doors. It was a whole new thing for me. Treatment was nice and safe, and then I come to Alpha House, and this is where I'm to learn more about myself, but also about life skills and some small things and some really large things. Like if I start with getting some good small habits, maybe they'll lead to some good larger responsibilities. I didn't understand that at the time. I spent my entire stay watching TV. The stay was cut very short, and I was really, really upset. This was all my doing. I just wasn't ready. And that's what I was told repeatedly, you're just not ready. Like, how ready do I need to be? Like this is probably the best sobriety I'd had. I know I needed to humble myself, so I went to the next housing place that took me in. Before New Year's, I had relapsed. I just went right back to what I knew because it made me feel better. I was homeless again within 2 days, 3 days. The worst time I've ever had. I don't understand. When someone says this is a progressive disease, I didn't think my bottom could get any worse. I've made some poor choices and there have been some consequences, but this was, I didn't even recognize myself. Breaking the law was like the least of it. The things I was prepared to do to get what I thought I needed was not what I knew growing up. This is the worst. And I didn't think twice. And sometimes I would do these things and not get anything because that's life. If it's violence, if it's sexual trauma, I'll make arrangements to survive. There was that, and then there were some more charges. I woke up at the Toronto South Detention Center with absolutely no recollection how I got there. I was hoping maybe I could just rest in jail. I was actually hoping I could stay this time. I didn't care anymore. They went through a contested bail hearing, and then the judge said, you'll be released before midnight tonight. I hope you have somewhere to go. And I was terrified. I had nowhere. So I went straight to a shelter. Life there is hard. I had a friend that I had met at the treatment center that we became close, and he started picking me up taking me to eat, getting me a pack of smokes, and he brought me to Oshawa. There's a detox called Pinewood. You can go there, but you can stay at the shelter nearby. Marched on to detox, 7 days sober, really, really proud. I met people along the way that prayed for me on that street as I walked. I still remember this. It was like magic. I felt something. I never felt it before. Maybe there's a chance this is going to work, you know? My only possession was my suitcase, an old bottle of cologne that I used to have that made me feel human again. And I got into detox. I called the same treatment center, begged them to take me back. But I got in again, a year to the same day. I walked through the doors again with my head hanging low, and I just cried. It was a whole different experience for me. I reapplied to Alpha House. The waiting list was huge. I remember my peers around me sort of saying, like, I can't wait that long. I've only got X amount of days left. I wasn't sure how to approach this. I wasn't aware of people being able to return after being discharged, and I was scared. So I sent an email, and the response I got from one of the counselors was, how happy. I'm gonna go tell everybody you're okay. We weren't sure if you were alive. That was pretty emotional for me. So they said, apply. So I applied. And when I called that next Monday, the person on the phone had said, yeah, I'm gonna make sure there's a bed for you because I know you're a real addict, that you need this and you want this because you got yourself back into treatment. I got off the phone and I just kept my mouth shut and just kept praying that this is what's gonna happen. And the day came. Everything feels different for me. I'm not different at all, but I feel very different. Like I'm worthy of being here, and I know that I can get help here. I know Alpha House is a safe place. At any time of the day, there's a multitude of staff that I can either have a one-on-one with, or I can sit with a few of them in the office. I felt really low at some points, but the work we do here always reminded me that this is worth it. This is worth, fighting for. My big thing was accountability. Alpha House, you come here 30 days clean, minimum, from a treatment center. Either have a sponsor or you're getting one. But you're lacking, at least I was lacking, life skills and how to manage. Like step one, manageability. This is where we put the manageability back. And I found myself a sober living place after here. But every day I spent here, I'm learning to be a roommate. I'm learning to be a peer. I'm learning to be a friend. I had tasks and chores and meals to prepare. Some of the talks I had upstairs with the counselors, either mirroring what I'm doing or being told what's happening and what it's going to lead to. Do I want to stay sober? Staff here really helped me when it came to staying out of toxic relationships. It was the same thing all the time. So I won't be lonely, I was told. And that's what happened. I had new friends, I had a fellowship, I got into service, I joined home group. I worked through the 12 steps with my sponsor, and then I started sponsoring other people, and my life was full. When it came time to leave, I was really not sure if this is the right time. And it was up to me, but the staff said it's time. It's a safe place. You've done all this research, you're gonna go. And became an alumni here. Alumni here means coming back Tuesday nights where we have our alumni meeting. It means sharing your experience, strength, and hope. It means staying for dinner, hanging out with the boys, showing them that there's life after Alpha House or there's life after treatment. I always see Alpha House saved my life. It gave me a place to live and to call home. Alpha House really just showed me how to save my own life. It empowers people to make good decisions. Like I said, we come back, we get to come back. The staff are available 24 hours a day for anybody who's come through this house and graduated. I think that's the greatest advantage. I move on to something new and I'm nervous, I can always call back. Yeah, being here is good. Alpha House has been good for me. I got to come back twice. I have a much better life than I had before. I have responsibilities and I'm accountable. I keep others accountable. Treatment and here, it's a perfect combination. But you can't move forward without secondary care. Some of us really need that extra kick, safety, and a place to go to learn these basic rules. Washing dishes, doing my own laundry. It all has to be done on your time when you stay here. But it doesn't do itself. There's not, my mom doesn't show up to do my laundry. It's really small things, but it starts there. If I didn't do this stuff here, I wouldn't be paying like normal rent and living in my own apartment now. I'm 48, so it took me a while to get there, but I pay all my own bills. I invest my money for retirement, because I don't have that long, but I got a lot of work to do to get there. Can't even imagine. Where would I go? I have nowhere to go. I came out of treatment homeless, man. I went to treatment homeless. Where would I? There's nowhere for me to go but Alpha House. That's the truth. Even if I had options, I wouldn't want to go anywhere else. This is the only place that I know that would be safe for me. For a man who has gone through serious trauma, this is the place. This is where I felt love here. This is all borrowed time, and I got that from here. I reconnected with both my parents. My mother, I do a WhatsApp call once or twice every month. My father, that's the greatest gift. I miss so much. My gut is to go back in time and fix it all. I can only have today. And my father was recently diagnosed with Parkinson's, like maybe 7 weeks ago. I missed so much being in jail and through treatment, birthdays and Christmases. But the biggest gift is to have him like hanging on to my arm, trusting in his son to be strong and hold him. That's big. If someone's in treatment and they don't know where they're supposed to be going next, and their counselor hasn't really talked about Alpha House, I mean, the only thing I can hope for is that these pamphlets are everywhere and that people understand that, Alpha House is here in Toronto, in a nice area, run by good people. I think some people need more solution than just one-and-done treatment. Not necessarily because you're homeless. Some people can't go home to their families right away. Some people might have a lot of proving to do. Alpha House is a good spot. I think that this is a necessary step. It was huge for me, feeling safe and being safe. That's what Alpha House is. It's home. Alpha House is home.